Hey guys, so I finally finished the Soulrend build and I ran into a couple issues. So the new difficulty feels a bit weird. All the way until like tier 9, tier 10 maps, it felt very smooth and Soulrend was doing basically all the work. And I didn't really have much issues with survivability. At first I was Eldritch Battery because Soulrend cost a lot of mana and Eldritch Battery fixed all of the issues, but now I refunded it because in like tier 11 maps, I noticed that I just don't have enough damage. And another issue is, usually even on my first build, to finish it, I would just buy tier 16 map and do some of the gardens like Minotaur, and then compare our builds with how it compares to previous builds and just... But now, I don't even know how to finish the build, because gardens can be any level basically now. And Awakener is very hard to spawn. I'm still confused how it works. I just don't know what boss to do, how to compare the build with other builds. Do I just compare how it feels to level in maps, or... So yeah, I just don't know. Overall, the build did not feel that great in red tier maps. I only did like tier 11, I believe, the most. But very beefed up tier 11s, especially if monsters have increased Chaos resistance, felt pretty horrible. The Chaos damage was not enough, despite having 5 link and 2 5 links basically for damage, and then Bane is kind of on a 4 link. There's not much I can do to increase my damage more, that's the thing. I do have 6 link Cane of Unravelling, but that's not needed, and actually I made a big mistake, and I hope you're not gonna do the same mistake. So Cane of Unravelling is a strength int staff, which means rolling green sockets is gonna be difficult. And I do need 2 greens and 4 blues, or 3 greens and 3 blues. It's actually very difficult to color it, maybe not very difficult, but I was extremely unlucky. I just kept wasting all of my chromes. I don't know what even happened. What would be easier is to just use Cane of Unravelling, any links, and then buy a 6 link body armor, which is evasion ES based. Then it would be very easy to roll greens and blues. And other than Cane of Unravelling and just some random 6 link body armor, I don't need anything special. I don't even have good jewels. I did try to get as much life as possible, so I barely have over 6k life, which is kind of a minimum that you need for red tier maps, I believe, because I don't really have other defensive layers. I just assumed that for the starters builds it would be enough to kind of put this sheep build, and it would do enough, but difficulty really ramps up, and you definitely need some kind of defensive layers. But that is not to say that this build is not good. It was very smooth and very pleasant to play, but it's actually not very fast leveling. So yeah, overall the build is alright if you want to farm like up to yellow tier maps, but for red tier maps, of course this is level 88, you can always improve it, depends on how much currency you want to invest, but I did not invest too much. Like I said, I got a Cane of Unravelling basically, body armor, and then whatever else I could get, just life and enough resistances basically. I did try to fossil craft the helmet with nearby enemies have -9 to chaos resistance, but I failed that. Instead I got chaos resistance for me. But yeah, and you actually may want to get chaos resistance because there are some dangerous, like insanely dangerous chaos damage over time grounds from one of the Metamorphs, or a couple of them. You basically can die in like half a second from 6k life if you don't have enough chaos resistance and don't pay attention. This is, by the way, Trickster, and the reason why it's Trickster because I wanted to go with kind of Ghost Dance. I never really played with the Ghost Shroud, so I wanted to experiment with that a bit, but now I kind of almost regret doing that. Trickster is basically just faster than Occultist because you do need the cast speed for the Soulrend. Soulrend has pretty bad cast speed, and without enough cast speed, Soulrend doesn't feel good. It just doesn't. I did get cast speed on both rings, amulet. I even had increased cast speed as a support gem as a 6 link while leveling. I did get cast speed, a bit of cast speed on the passive skill tree, but not that much. And as a Trickster, you do get a decent amount of cast speed. As Occultist, this would feel too slow. Occultist may have its own advantages, like better ES and here reducing hair resistance and stuff like that. But Trickster is just faster, and I thought that it's gonna be smoother map clear, and it probably was smoother map clear. And as a Trickster, when you kill enemies, you get life, mana, and ES percentage on kill, which is very pleasant for mapping. You take the damage, you quickly kill enemies, and you don't even notice that your life is dropping until you start fighting a single target, and you just instantly get one shot at sometimes. This video is sponsored by... No, it's not sponsored, but it is heavily supported by people who buy my merchandise or support me in other ways, because without you I couldn't really do this YouTube thing anymore, because YouTube doesn't pay me much anymore. And I really want to thank everyone who bought my merchandise. I was very afraid that no one is gonna buy it, but merchandise like this, but it definitely has cool design. And if you are interested in supporting me, check my store, and hopefully you're gonna find something you want to buy and support me in that way. Also, in each video I want to highlight and show people who support me, so if you feel comfortable enough, share a picture of you wearing my merchandise or like using a mug, and I'm gonna show you in my videos like this time. So thank you very much for buying my merchandise and supporting me, and let's get back to the build video. Maybe I'm gonna go over my items. So Cane of Unravelling 6 link, but you don't need to have it 6 link, even 5 link will do just fine. Right now it's even basically on a 5 link, because I would love to have Arcane Surge in it, but I would have to swap it. In ideal case I would have 2 greens and then 4 blues. So instead of GMP I would have Arcane Surge, and I would swap one of the greens with GMP for the clear speed. So currently it is linked with Soulrend, by the way, is level 21 in here. It's linked with Swift Affliction, Efficacy, Void Manipulation, Control Destruction, and greater multiple projectiles. Next, body armor, just some random. I think I bought it for 5C, whatever. This is the Ascend Drain. It's level 19, linked with Void Manipulation, Control Destruction, Efficacy, Swift Affliction, and Bane is in here, also level 19, linked with Void Manipulation, Despair, and Efficacy. Instead of Despair, if you want more defensive, go with the Enfeeble or Temporal Chains. Next I have Skitterbots and Malevolence for my auras. You could use something else instead of Skitterbots, but I need enough mana to cast Soulrend. As you can see, I cast it twice and I'm out of mana basically. That is if I'm not killing anything, and if I don't trigger Trickster's, whatever it's called, Trickster's Weave the Arcane thing. Helmet. Oh, by the way, I did get the helmet with Soulrend Fires and additional projectile, and I was experimenting how it feels with just 2 projectiles. Imagine if the enemy is a map device. If I aim enemy, I would miss both of the projectiles. It happened a couple times. It does auto aim, but it needs to travel at certain distance before it can bend towards the target. So sometimes you shoot and you just completely miss the target, which is very funny. Another thing about it has a fixed cone. It doesn't matter. Previously you would aim close to your feet and it would spread out a lot, but now let me show you with this. It doesn't matter where you aim, the spread is always the same, which is gonna be great for the freezing pose, because it's always gonna have the same spread and cover the more AoE. It doesn't matter where you're gonna aim, so that change is actually pretty nice. Yeah, but the helmet enchantment is not necessarily if you're gonna be swapping gems. And 2 projectiles did not feel enough. Boots, just life, resistances, whatever. You may need some strength because the staff requires some strength. 113. I have overkill amount of strength, but strength also gives flat life, so that's good. I have cast speed on both of the rings and amulet. You may also want to get mana regen as well if you're going with without the Eldritch Battery. And gloves, I got the fingerless gloves just to increase the spell damage a bit more. You could go, so the new influenced items are pretty crazy, especially the Hunter one. The Hunter, I'm not sure if you want me to spoil it or not, but the Hunter influence can roll a lot of good things on amulet, and here's damage over time multiplier on gloves, I believe, with other things, but I don't want to, I guess, spoil it. But Hunter influence is very expensive, and it's even the base item level 82 or even just the base blank can be very expensive. So if you ever get a Hunter influence items, even if they don't have good rolls, check their item level and and you may actually be surprised, but you may even be able to sell a base hunter influence items for a couple exiles. And as for the items, that's pretty much it. I do have granite to boost my survivability just a bit more, sulfur blast to give me a bit more damage, and then 2 life flasks as per usual now. As for the passive skill tree Trickster, I went with the Prolonged Pain of course first, then I got the Ghost Dance, and I was planning on taking Escape Artist, but eventually I dropped the Eldritch Battery. I had Eldritch Battery before, and then decided to go with the Weave the Arcane to kind of have more consistent cast speed and a bit more mana. You may still choose Escape Artist, it doesn't matter that much I think. Both of these have their own kind of mitigation things, so choose whichever you prefer from the overlap. And then from these, first from the passive skill tree, I think I traveled like a bit to the right and then top left to these nodes, and then lastly went to take this this Wheel of Life. Normally I usually go to the left and more to the Templar area, but this time I decided to do something different, I guess. Not sure if it was better or not, but it works. I got a couple jewels. Some of the jewels definitely need to be replaced. Phasing is nice, but other than that, that's nothing good. This one just has life. I need a bit more mana, so the AoE can be useful, but you don't need to invest into AoE. I couldn't find a better path other than going through these AoE nodes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, I will include the path of building import code in the description. For the next build, I decided to go with the Blade Storm and try to do melee gladiator and see how melee feels like in this league, especially a pure physical one. So I'll see how that works, and if it doesn't work well, I'll still do a quick video and tell you if it doesn't work, and yeah, because you can learn even from the failures, and especially from the failures. So I'll definitely do a video about that even if it doesn't work. So for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.